Hi, I'm Katie,
Hi, I'm Garrett.
and so far we're just working on making like a general skeleton code for our robot, so figuring out what subsystems we want and starting to make some of the structure of each of those subsystems and getting kind of the infrastructure for the different like hardware and logging that we want to have. So one thing that's important to keep in mind when you're designing your code is to keep everything split up into modular subsystems, so making sure each piece isn't doing too much and each subsystem just has kind of one main thing that it's doing and not getting too complicated or too much in one file.
Yeah. Something else that can be really helpful is if your team is planning on tackling vision this year and trying to locate itself on the field, is to make sure that you have logging and just start from the beginning with logging in your code. It'd be really hard to debug vision and vision logic if you don't have a way to visualize on something like a Vantage Scope or the driver station what your robot thinks it's doing on the field, where it thinks it's going in the field, what tags it sees, etc. So if that's something that you're deciding to do, you should decide that earlier in the season, around this time, and you should really start thinking about the logging from the get-go. And lastly, something else that can help with you is think about what your sensors are going to be. So you have mechanisms, you have intakes, you have a shooter. If your intake is moving out and it's not fixed, well, how does it know where it is? Absolute encoders are probably the best way. So it's absolute, you always know where you are. You can do sensorless things as well though, by measuring currents and moving your intake back up and to its stowed position and looking for a current spike and kind of detect it that way. There's a zone trade-off, so if you don't have a sensor, but you do have to now mess with some tuning and stuff. But you just need to think about some way of how are your mechanisms going to know where they are and that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye.